All right, let's discuss this a little bit further with the help of guests who are joining me at this part of the program. I have Professor Fouad Izzadi, professor with Tehran University, who is joining us via Skype on the left side of your screens. Professor Izzadi, it's good to have you with us. And of course, I have the pleasure of hosting Dr. Marcus Papadopoulos. He is an editor with Politics First, also joining us via Skype out of London. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining our broadcast. I'm going to begin with Dr. Izzadi in Tehran to basically tell us his views as to what could be, because we do not know, Doctor, what has caused this, but what do you imagine could be behind Google's move?
I think the problem, Google and I think the U.S. government, I think the Google company is basically carrying out the instructions that the U.S. government is giving them. The problem is your message. You are an alternative voice. You are providing content that is not available in corporate media in the United States. You are presenting facts. You are staying away from fake news. You are staying away from Zionist-controlled propaganda when it comes to Israel. You're basically an independent outlet. And the U.S. government doesn't like that. They kill journalists if they have a chance, journalists that don't follow the orders they give. Their allies, the Saudis in particular, do the same thing. And since they're not able to attack you physically, they're attacking your account, your site, your platforms that you provide the message to the public. And they have done this before. They have closed down different outlets that Press TV had on satellite channels in previous years, and this is a continuation of that. So the idea of free flow of information is a joke. The U.S. is a practice of hypocrisy, and they will continue to do so. They have weaponized information. They want to have a free hand in providing the propaganda that VOA does internationally, and they don't want competition.
Dr. Papadopoulos in London, I'd like you to delineate your thoughts on what could be behind Google's move.
Well, this is a disconcerting development, but not a surprising one, because whilst companies like Google and YouTube are privately owned, they are not independent of the American government. The American government allows Google and YouTube to play an extremely prominent role in the everyday lives, not just of Americans, but of people around the world. And because of that permission, there comes a price. So in essence, Google and YouTube are beholden to the American government. So when the American government, its representatives, speak privately with people at Google and YouTube asking them to do something, Google and YouTube will do that because they don't want to jeopardize, as I said, that access that they have to hundreds of millions of people around the world. And of course, the American government, especially since Trump came to power, is ratcheting up pressure against Iran. There is not just severe economic sanctions on Iran, there is also a brutal media war being deployed against Iran. And many people in America and also in other parts of the West are questioning what the American government and the British government, for instance, have been telling Americans and Britons for many decades now about Iran. Indeed, many ordinary people have reservations about what the American government is saying about Iran. So in light of that, it is logical, if you are an American policymaker, to take action against Press TV, because Press TV is doing a superb job in exposing the double standards of American foreign policy, in exposing the true nature of American global hegemony. And of course, Press TV is a filter, and a very important filter for information, alternative information in the world. And that is why the American government has now moved to shut down Press TV's presence on, for example, Google. And as I said moments ago, Google is beholden to America, the American government. No one must be under any illusion that because a company like Google or YouTube are privately owned, this means that they do not come under the influence of the American government.
What does that say about the trust that the general public has in names such as Google or YouTube? Doesn't that, Dr. Izadi, besmirch the good name of, at least so far, the good name of large companies in which people have great trust?
Well, people shouldn't have great trust in companies like Google, because you're not the first victim of the cooperation that they have with the U.S. government and the orders they take from the U.S. government. We have had in the past instances of spying on Google customers by the U.S. government. We have had instances of blocking other independent news outlets and media outlets. And I think many people know that already. So this is going to be basically a session that people will have from the U.S. government and the outlets that follow U.S. government orders, that they're not safe. They are tools that imperialism and U.S. hegemony uses to dictate its orders. And at the end of the day, if people are using these outlets, they should remember there's going to be a big brother watching whatever they do, especially if they're engaging in activities that is not in line with U.S. foreign policy. They should be very careful.
Okay, Dr. Papadopoulos, if you remember, it was just about last year that we had almost, well, actually, you know, I would say something with greater results for the Facebook project, if you remember, and the tarnishing of the name of Facebook based on the fact that it was said to have given information of different people to the government. What do you think if people of the world know that perhaps, I'm saying perhaps for now, perhaps such a thing is going on with names like Google and YouTube as well?
Well, Facebook is another example of a company in America that is privately owned, but that is beholden to the American authorities. And I think it is a depressing reality that many people in America, many people in my own country of Britain, place a great deal of faith in Facebook, in YouTube, in Google. They believe that they are credible companies putting out trustworthy information, when of course in reality those companies do the bidding for the American authorities when the American authorities instruct them to do so. And that is a very, very, as I say, depressing reality, but it is one that we need to relay time and time again to as many people in America and to as many people in Britain, because the more people who realize that Facebook is not an independent entity, that Google is not an independent entity. Indeed, another one, Wikipedia, is far from being an independent entity, then this will help to open the eyes of ordinary people in America and Britain, all the more so. We see, if I may refer to Wikipedia, we see that the information that is put on the profile pages of journalists who challenge the American narrative, for example, on Syria, or the British narrative on Syria, is very selective. For example, my Wikipedia page, the sources that have been used are sources which relate to articles which have been published against me by British national newspapers which are very, very denigrating. For example, articles in The Sun, articles in The Times, articles in The Telegraph. Now, why is that? I know that people have tried to edit my Wikipedia page to place other sources in there, sources which tell a different story about me, but those edits are never allowed. So if you go onto my Wikipedia page, the only sources you will see will be articles in which I'm described, for example, as being an Iranian propagandist or a Russian propagandist. That is the reality of Wikipedia, of YouTube, of Facebook, and of Google. They are deadly weapons at the disposal of the American government, and the American government has no moral compunction in using them against governments or against individuals in order to silence them, in order to discredit them.
Right. Gentlemen, I would continue this conversation, but time has got the better of us. Thank you very much for being with Press TV. I had the pleasure of hosting both Professor Fouad Izzadi, professor of with Tehran University out of Tehran, and Dr. Marcus Papadopoulos, editor with Politics First. Thank you very, very much for being with Press TV and your time. And thank you very much, viewers, for joining this broadcast. And I'm signing off now. Thank you.